All right.
And action.
Hi, I'm Amanda Smith. I'm a wedding photographer in South Florida, and I want to talk to you about the ball guy, Mr. Ball Guy, Frank Donnino. I met Frank through Kristen Browning, who's a friend of mine. She always talked about him, and she always said how helpful he is and how amazing he is, and she highly recommended that I sit down with him. So late last year, I contacted him, and he replied right away. He's super quick, and we set up an appointment. The first time I sat down with him, I felt a little nervous because I didn't know what I was getting myself into, honestly. And within, I'd say, 10 seconds of me being with him, I just felt so loved and so cared for. He really listened to my struggles. He knew how to tend to all my issues, which were a lot. I was very frustrated with my business. And that same day, he gave me a whole lot of homework and a whole lot of information, which was great. I went home and I started doing my homework, and that same day, I think we did about 24 emails back and forth, back and forth. He truly does care. My fondest memory of Frank is to see him work, to see him do a wedding. You know, it's humbling and inspirational. He really loves what he does. His clients love him, and he loves his client. And in spite of how he's feeling, he's just such a trooper. And honestly, it just makes it so beautiful to see what he gets from them and what they get from him. And I love him, and he's amazing, and my only regret is not knowing him 10 years ago. I wish I would have known him 10 years ago when I started this whole thing. Frank, your legacy will live on forever through your friends, through your family, through the clients that love you, and through your students. Thank you so much for being awesome. Thank you for helping. And God bless you and your family. And wepa!
Okay, tell me when you're gonna go.
We're such a newbies on this.
And
But it's fun.
action.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Smith. I'm a local photographer in Jupiter, Florida. I first met Frank through Kristen Browning. I was second shooting for her, and Frank was there also. And I remember I had a wedding the very next weekend, and I was really unsure of what to do with my reception lighting. And Kristen goes, you know, you should ask Frank while you're here. He'll know what to do. Sure enough, I asked Frank how I should set up my lighting, and he knew exactly. He'd been to the venue. He was so generous to help me. He told me exactly what to do. But he didn't stop there. He actually came to my wedding with me the next weekend, even though he had a wedding of his own. When he was finished, he came to my reception, he set up my lighting, we did test shots, he made sure I was okay, and then he left. And let me tell you, I was blown away. I had never had anybody do that for me before. He was just so generous and so giving, and that's who Frank is. He's willing to help anybody who's struggling with their business. He's willing to talk to you, willing to take the time, because he truly, truly cares. Another thing that I absolutely love about Frank is how he treats his clients. I was blown away. I thought that I was doing okay with my clients. They liked me, I liked them. We had a good experience, and we parted ways. But when I met Frank and I saw what he was doing with his clients, I quickly realized I was not doing enough. He was going the extra mile, and he was truly passionate about it. And since that time, I have incorporated some of his ideals into my business, and my clients are so much happier and so much better off because of it. The other thing that I truly admire about you, Frank, is your willingness to learn. You've been in the industry for a long time, and I'm blown away with how you will take a model, go out, practice lighting, practice your camera. It is truly impressive. I thought that once you reached a certain point, you know, you knew everything, and you know, you'd finally arrived, and you really impressed me about your spirit of learning, and it's really, you know, impacted my life to learn and improve more also. And then of course, just I admire your hard work and your positive spirit. Even though you've been through quite a struggle the past few years, Frank, I really just admire your positivity and the way you handle things. Sometimes I think about my own life when I'm going through a struggle, and then I think about you and how you would handle the situation. It truly is, you truly are an inspiration. Thank you so much for everything you've done for me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I owe everything to you. I love you, Frank.
What can I tell you about my friend Frank? Well, let me start at the beginning. When I was in my studio one day many years ago, I get this phone call from this guy named Frank Donnino. And I'm like, who the heck is this? Anyway, during the phone call, Frank had told me he called because I'd given a testimonial for a marketing boot camp that I had attended previously. And he just wanted to know if my testimonial was BS or not. That's kind of typical Frank. So I assured him, the boot camp was legit. It was totally cool. He should go, and we should meet there. And we did. And so we met in Vegas. We became fast friends, and honestly, literally shared pretty much every meal there together. And we did this year after year. I can't even tell you how many years in a row we went to this marketing boot camp together. My fondest memories from those times were not the class itself, but the time that Frank and I spent together after class. Literally, we shared every meal, so we had a lot of time to get to know each other. But after class, we would get together and share our notes and the ideas that we came up with during the lectures of the class. And this was really valuable, I think, for both of us. Me in particular, I really liked hearing his angle on all this stuff. Anyway, like I said, we shared all these meals. We went to some shows. We had hot fudge sundaes. Kind of sounds like a little bit of a bromance, honestly. But the fact is, we became great friends. We went and saw Blue Men together, and he literally dragged me to see the Cirque du Soleil show, The Beatles Love. And, those of you who know Frank, he's a Beatles nut. And I appreciate the Beatles, but not maybe as much as Frank. And so he insisted I go. Ended up loving the show, and I thank him profusely for that. It was great. After the boot camps ended, Frank came to visit me here in LA, and we got together not just to have fun, but also to discuss something that we were going to do together, which was we put on our own little weekend marketing boot camp there in Boynton Beach, which was a blast. We had a great time. Our students were thrilled, and we ended it with a cruise, which was kind of cool. Also, during his visit to LA, I kind of got him hooked on In-N-Out burgers, and because they're really good. Anyway, back in the day, Frank and I had a very similar sort of portrait business, but we were on opposite coasts, so we could literally share our marketing ideas really freely because we weren't competing with one another. We were trying to help build each other up, kind of like accountability partners, if you will. Then Frank built the Baby Plan Forum, which I was a very active member of for many, many years. Well, let me just say, it's been a lot of years since I've actually seen Frank in person, way too long. But it was always a really effortless kind of friendship. And, I really cherish those times that we had and, would love to have more of them. So, Frank, please know I've always cherished our friendship. I love you, my friend.
Hi, my name is Laurie Spataro, and I'm a local photographer. And I met Frank about 6 years ago when he photographed my son Joshua. He was practicing with a new lens and offered some just free shots, which I thought was amazing, and I took him up on it with my son. I was so excited to watch what he did and just see him so naturally using everything, and the pictures coming out just incredible. I couldn't imagine somebody having so much talent, and I wondered if I'd ever be able to learn from him. And sure enough, a few months ago, when he got his diagnosis and decided he was going to spend his last few months teaching what he knew and passing it on to us photographers that didn't know as much as he does, I was lucky enough, blessed enough to really get to know him and spend some time with him and really learn some of his tricks. I hope one day I can perform the bake shot even half as well as he does and put a little icing on the top. He told me, don't ever give up, don't stop trying, and I promised him I wouldn't, and I definitely won't. I feel blessed to have had the time I did learning from him, and I definitely will never forget him. He's a very, very special man to be willing to do what he did in his last few months, and I don't know what to say except I'm so grateful, and I hope to make you proud one day, Frank. Thanks.
I first met Frank Donnino about July of 2015. I was actually looking at some of his work online, had become friends with him on Facebook, and at that time he was offering a seminar or a workshop about photography. I think when I showed up there, I think he was a little bit surprised that I flew all the way from Idaho to come to his workshop. He was very humbled. He was always a very humble man. Since that time in 2015 in that workshop, there were many times I had questions, and he was always very quick to get back to me and answer any question I ever had. One of the most special memories I have of Frank was shooting a wedding with him just last month in January of 2018. I had asked him if he would allow me to come and watch and see how he shot weddings, and he was always open to having anyone come and shoot with him, and he allowed me to come and assist with this wedding. I am so grateful that I did. I saw a great man that would always follow through on every commitment that he had made. And even though he was not feeling good and he was fairly sick shooting during this wedding, he stuck there at this wedding because he made the commitment to be there from start to finish. I will always remember these special times with Frank, and especially this time at shooting this wedding with him.
Good evening, Donninos. This is so much work. I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your father with all of us. The time I got to spend with your dad meant the world to me. Kind of felt selfish taking him away from your time with your dad, your husband, and I'm just in awe that you guys shared him with all of us. Frank, you are amazing. I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss our coffees, our talks, our laughs, our cries. You calling me picklehead? Where did you come up with that? I think I'll bring pickles to every single thing I do now, just to get a laugh. I wish I would have asked your father so much more, but the time I got to spend with your dad was more than learning. The friendship was great. He was a true meaning of friend. He gave his whole heart in everything he did. It was a great, great friendship. So I'm going to miss him, but I'm just glad I got to meet you guys, because now you're my family too. So until we all meet again, which will be soon, I just want to say thank you. God bless you. And I love you. Every one of you. Your dad was so proud. And Angela, take your camera bag and share that with everything you do. Your dad was so proud when he made that bag for you, and everything he put into there to make it the perfect bag and kit for you. Tony, thanks for taking your dad on the drive along, and for taking the test with him. That meant the world to him. He was so proud. He called me up after that that night before he got too tired, which he always got tired, but he shared that with me, and he was so proud. He had so much fun. The video you guys did was so cute. Thank you, Johnny, for sharing your dad with me also. You guys are amazing, and I love you all. Thanks, Donna. Mwah. Take care.
Frank was in my life for over 17 years, and I was lucky enough to call him one of my very best friends. He was always there for me, no matter what, just to hold my hand and let me pour my heart out or cry. He never once judged me and always found a way to show that he really cared and cheer me up. I was always so amazed at how much love he had for his family and his wife Donna, and their relationship was inspiring. Had lots of great times with Frank, photographing, hanging out, sharing lighting tips or photography tips or business tips, sometimes in a group setting and sometimes just out photographing by the lake. He was an inspiration and he will be greatly missed. I loved him very much.
Hi everybody, I'm Kristen Browning and I live in Stuart, Florida. I'm a wedding photographer and I met Frank in 2014. I actually met him through Facebook. I was online and I asked a question on a Facebook forum and he was quick to answer, and we corresponded for a little while on Facebook, and one day he put out a request to have two models, a couple. So I dragged my husband over to Jupiter at the lighthouse where we met Frank, and he wanted to use us to test some of his gear, which is totally like Frank, because if anyone knows him, he is always testing his equipment, always out there practicing, always out there shooting. And we started talking, and I told him that I was just getting into wedding photography, and he said, well, how about you come along on a wedding with me? So I was thrilled. I could not believe that another photographer would invite me so graciously to come on a wedding with him. So I took him up on the offer. I was very excited. So we started working together, and from the very first wedding I had with him, I learned so much. Just about business, about lighting, especially with my flash and reception lighting. So after that, we worked together for a couple of years, and I ended up having a baby. His name is Easton, and when Easton was about a month old, Frank drove all the way down from Boynton to meet my baby. And this is one of my fondest memories of Frank. He came over, he drove an hour from Boynton, came over, held my baby, and took pictures of him. And I was just shocked that he would drive down to meet my baby, and it just meant so much to me. And one of my favorite photos of Frank is actually a picture of him holding my baby. So that's one of my fondest memories. And Frank, I love you, and thank you so much for caring for me over the years, teaching me, instilling all of what you know into me, pouring in wisdom into me, and never giving up on me. Thanks, Frank.